How's it going, everyone? I am back with another video. This is going to be my week one recap video where I'm going to go through all the games that took place this past week of the NFL season, week one, big week one. Good to have football back. And I'm going to break down. Sorry, Mike, I don't know if you can hear this. My chair I'm sitting in is really squeaky all of a sudden. I don't know where the hell that just came from. Sorry if you can hear that. But I'm going to be breaking down my thoughts for all the games, how I interpreted them, my takeaways, all that good stuff. So just dive straight in here. So obviously the first game, the season opener, was Cowboys Eagles on Thursday night. Pretty good game, very entertaining game. Very strange the way this game was played. So in the first half, neither defense could stop a parked car. Both defenses were awful in the first half. Both the Eagles and the Cowboys, both their offenses were going up and down the field at will. The Eagles, I'm not too surprised because the Cowboys defense, looks like it might be a bit rough, at least for this matchup on paper. And the Eagles' offense stayed pretty much the same, minus losing Kellen Moore. All their talent, like roster wise, pretty much stayed the same. And the Cowboys' offense, a lot of questions going into the season about it. And yes, the Eagles' defense lost a lot of pieces, but the Cowboys' offense still a lot of questions going into this game. They could not be stopped in the first half. They went right down the field, went up 7-0. Obviously, a lot of controversy with the spitting incident with Dak and Jalen Carter. Jalen Carter got ejected literally after the opening kickoff. He didn't even play defensive snap in this game. So I'm sure that affected things for the Eagles defense. The Cowboys certainly took advantage of that. They ran the ball a lot better than I was anticipating. They passed it a lot better. Dak looked phenomenal in this game. His stats aren't going to reflect that. I think if you just look at his stats, they're not going to, look to like he played a great game. He played great in this game. He was fitting some of his passes into tight windows, threading the needle. They who was it? I want to say who the hell was it? It was in the end zone, and Dak threaded the needle. It was like 3rd and 20 or something like that. And Dak threaded the needle, or I think it was like 1st and 20. It was something in 20, I think, after a holding penalty. I want to say Dak threaded the needle. I want to say it was to the tight end, and he dropped it on the hit. And then I think this was at the start of the second half, and then the Cowboys fumbled it. It was Miles Sanders fumbled it, and then the Eagles recovered it. And what I think this is the third quarter, and then right after that is when we got the weird weather delay. Then after that weather delay, neither team could score. There was 0 points scored after that weather delay. So that was well, actually, oh, no, yes, I believe after the weather delay there was 0 points scored. So I honestly think it might have helped the Cowboys a bit because the Eagles, I think, just took the momentum. They just got the turnover as the Cowboys were about to score a touchdown to take the lead. It looked like not on that play, but just the way the drive is going. It looked like Dallas is about to go in the end zone, take the lead. And I think the Eagles got the momentum. Then that weather delay happened. Eberflus made some adjustments. He sent some more pressure, started blitzing more, sent a corner blitz. That first series after, the Cowboys defense played a lot better. The Eagles defense started sending pressure too, and they played a lot better. CeeDee Lamb, a big story in this game. He had 4 drops. Three of them, one of them, the last one was tough, but he should have made that catch. Three of the other ones he certainly should have made, at least that I remember. One was a third down. Dak hit him right in the hands, dropped it. Then one was one of the last drives. Actually, I think it was the last drive of the game. Dak threw for the Cowboys. I mean, Dak threw a lasers. Lamb dropped it. I just remember that 4th down he dropped it. He had another one. I'm blanking exactly what it was. I just remember he had 4 drops. I needed Dak to get 12 more yards and the Eagles to win the game, and I would have won $50 off a parlay. So I was a bit pissed off there, but that's okay. But the Eagles held on. Their defense got the stop. I do think the Eagles got a bit lucky with the drops from Lamb there. And then the Eagles ended up getting the first down to ice the game. Dallas never got the ball back, so the Eagles won. So again, this game was a tale of two halves. The first half, neither team could stop either team. Both offenses were humming. The second half, especially after that weather delay, it was just a defensive game. Neither offense could get much going. Lamb dropping passes didn't help. But Dallas looked a lot better than at least I and probably most people were expecting. The Eagles' defense, and again, losing Jalen Carter helped. It looked bad for most of this game. And then the second half, it adjusted well. But still, as I just mentioned, maybe caught a break with Lamb dropping 4 passes. So yeah, the Eagles lost a lot of names defensively in free agency. I think their defense is, as I mentioned this in my videos, I think it might be, a bit. Well, I don't think it'll be as good as it was last season, but obviously that comes naturally losing as many guys as they did in free agency. But I think it'll take time for Vic Fangio to get the defense playing together. But then once they click, I think they'll be one of the better units in the league again. I think they'll be, like hot and cold. Until that point, probably about halfway through the year, Vic Fangio will get things clicking in gear. But yeah, Dallas looked a lot better than I and many people were expecting. As I was just saying, is it going to carry through the whole season, or was it just a weird week one thing? That's a question coming out of this game. Thankfully, no offense, Dylan, but they play the Giants next week, so that should be a win for them, especially at home. Except who knows? And then the Eagles play the Chiefs. I'm going to have to pull for the Eagles, hating the Chiefs so much, which is going to pain me because I don't like the Eagles at all. Yet I will forever be grateful for them for stopping the three-peat. Thank the Lord. But yeah, Eagles, not a convincing definitive win, but, Dallas, Philly, always a close game. Most of the time it feels like opening night, Eagles got the win. Not too concerned about their offense. Their offense looked good for this game. Offense will be, one of the better units. Defense will figure it out. I think they'll be one of the elite teams in the league again. Then Dallas, they can play like this all season. Who knows what we'll get from them? Yes. The next game was the Brazil game, the Friday game. Chiefs Chargers. Thank you, Chargers. Seeing the Chiefs start off 0-1, I couldn't think of a better start to my football weekend. The Chiefs played poor for most of this game, and in typical Chiefs fashion from last season, they still nearly won the game. The Chargers outplayed them by a landslide. They should have won by like 2 scores. The Chargers were completely dominating the game. It was only 10-0, and I'm like, yep, this has Chiefs comeback written all over it. I mean, the Chiefs, they barely had any first downs in the first quarter, from what I remember, right? I mean, the third play of the game, Kelce ran right into Worthy and injured Worthy. He's out at least a few weeks. Everyone's joking that he did it on purpose because on a podcast, Taylor Swift said like she was super hyped about the Chiefs getting Worthy. So obviously it was an accident, but everyone joking Kelce did it on purpose. But yeah, the Chargers were up, and then one takeaway from this game is the botch sequence from Amari and Hampton. Well, honestly, I wouldn't even fully blame it on him. Jim Harbaugh said it was fully on him. So the Chiefs had no timeouts. It was like 3rd and I think 20 for the Chargers. They were out like the 20-yard line or something like that. So, you just think they're going to hand it off, chew the clock all the way. Actually, I think there's like 50 seconds left. So chew it down to around 10 seconds, somewhere around there roughly. Kick the field goal. They would have gone up. I think they would have been up 13 or what the hell was it? I want to say when they kicked the field goal, it was okay. It was, I think it was okay. So it was 10-3. So if they kicked the field goal, I think it was 10-3. They would have been up 13-3 at half, basically. Assuming the Chiefs don't get a kick return or something like that, touchdown or a field goal out of it. Run out of bounds, kick field goal, second off. Stuff like that. However, Greg Roman, who I thought called a really good game, called an outside zone with Amari and Hampton, and he gets pushed out of bounds. And the second that happened, I'm like, the Chiefs just won the game. That is, again, they had the single luckiest season in sports history last season, and there's a bit of luck on their side happening again. Why do you not just run the ball off the middle to basically guarantee the clock's going to run out? And it also centers the ball for the kick to make it easier for Cam Dicker, your kicker. Oh, that just rhymed. But instead, Greg Roman calls an outside zone. The only thing I can possibly think is maybe he's hoping that the outside play could burst for a first down or a touchdown instead of just a run up the middle. That's the only thing I can possibly think of. Or if Cameron Dicker liked the ball position from that hash mark to the center. I don't know. But the Chiefs went down the field. Tyquan Thornton caught a deep pass, which you could have done that on my team, the Patriots. And then the Chiefs got a couple false start penalties. I'm like, oh, maybe the Chargers are going to get away with that mistake there. Mahomes threw a pass to, I forget who caught it on the sideline. It might have been Thornton. I forget who it was. And they had to do a fire drill. They had to run the field goal unit on the field, the clock running down. Butker got like a 50 something yard. I forget the exact number. It's like a 50 something yard, and it's 13-6 at half. And I'm like, yep, the Chiefs just won the game from that. And the Chargers got the ball to start the second half, went 3-and-out, and Mahomes and company methodically went down the field. And they got the touchdown. I'm like, yep, here we go. And then Butker missed the extra point. I'm like, oh, this could be big. And the Chiefs, it really cost them because they were chasing that the whole game. The Chargers ended up getting a touchdown. So they went up 8. Chiefs got another touchdown, went for the 2 to tie. Pass got batted down by Tart, who I'm surprised didn't get ejected from the game with the whole he swiped at Kelsey. They broke down why he didn't. He had like an open palm or something, but thankfully he didn't because he made a couple big plays. I think the Chiefs had the 2-point conversion if he didn't knock it down. I forget. I think it was Kelsey was open. I forget who. One of their receivers was open for it, I think. And Tart thankfully batted it down. So it was 20-18. Yeah, it was 20-18. And then the Chargers got a touchdown to. So the Chargers got a touchdown to. Okay, I'm just trying to. Yes. Okay, so the Chargers got a touchdown with a few minutes left. They went up 27-18. And then they had the Chiefs at a 4th and 7, which was borderline the ball game. The Chiefs had all their timeouts, but it would have gone a long way to help the Chargers win, and blown coverage by the safety. And I'm like, yep, here we go again. The Chiefs are down at the goal line. They're about to score a touchdown. The Chargers held them to a field goal. And then fast forward a couple plays later, Herbert runs it on 3rd and 15. He gets it to win the game. Thank you, Chargers. Oh boy, the Chiefs are, everyone's saying it's their downfall. Boy, I sure hope so, but I think they'll unfortunately, still be one of the better teams in the league this year, but I sure hope not. They're extremely banged up right now, especially at receiver. Their defense did not look very good in the game. One thing that surprised me, Greg Roman, obviously a run-heavy coordinator, run-first coordinator, they passed the shit out of the football, and Herbert looked phenomenal. You can make an argument that was probably the best game he's played in his whole career. He looked phenomenal. I was very impressed. I've always liked Herbert, but I was very impressed with Herbert that game. He was absolutely phenomenal. He made some big third down throws. He had a couple good runs. The one to ice the game I mentioned. As much as I hate Mahomes, the Chiefs in the first half did what they always did. Just the one drive they got down the field, they had to methodically go down the field. The only way the Chiefs can move the ball, I feel like, the past couple seasons is because their defense has always kept it within a one-score game, so the Chiefs can do whatever they want. They can just methodically dink and dunk, run the ball down the field. They've rarely had to push the ball down the field quickly the past couple seasons. That is the key to beating them, is to make them push the ball down the field quickly, because their offense is not built with their current receivers to do that for the most part. I know they got it down the field quickly, but that was because of the blown coverage from the safety with the Hollywood Brown play. Worthy would have probably feasted in this game. Hollywood Brown had over 100 yards, I'm pretty sure. So Worthy would have feasted in this game probably. But yeah, the Chiefs are banged up at receiver. Playing the Eagles this week, a legitimate possibility they start 0-2. The defense has been the better of the two units the past 2 years for the Chiefs compared to the offense. So their defense, and again, it's just one game, but their defense is going to play that poorly. The Chiefs seriously might be in trouble this season. I don't want to overreact with the Chargers who win the division, but I think the Chargers and Broncos can legitimately challenge the Chiefs to the division this year. I don't think the Raiders, but who the hell knows the Raiders, what they're going to be this year. Maybe they're going to be a bit better than we expected. I think the Chiefs will still win the division in the end, but who knows at this point. Chargers look great. Good to see the Chiefs finally lose a game that they didn't deserve to win. If this was last season, the Chiefs would have won that game. So it's a good thing they didn't win it this year. Oh boy, Dolphins Colts. Well, yep, this score at the bottom here is a pretty good indicator of how this game went. The Dolphins looked like, honestly, arguably the worst football team I've watched in my entire life. I cannot believe how bad they look. I picked them to win the game, and I was surprised the Colts were favored. And I was like, during this game, they're showing the highlights in red zone. I'm like, Jesus, I'm like, they're down 10-0 and then 17-0 in the blink of an eye. And by the way, Daniel Jones, I think I mentioned it in my videos, my past couple videos. Daniel Jones, I think, is actually a really good fit with the Colts. Shane Steichen, I feel like gets the best out of any quarterback. I feel like Daniel Jones is around the skill set of Gardner Minshew, and Minshew did pretty solid with the Colts 2 years ago. So the Colts could be a bit sneaky this year. Look out for them. Their defense looked phenomenal with Lou Anarumo. Xavier Howard said, you take to his first read away, he's in trouble. That's, what something similar to that nature. Players have said in the past about Tua. Never been a big Tua guy, even though my Patriots can never beat him. Let's hope that changes this Sunday, which is annoying because in most of the games, he doesn't even do much, I feel like. He'll have like a very like mid stat line and we still lose, which is so fucking annoying. But that's okay. Hopefully it changes this Sunday when we play the Dolphins. Yeah, Tua, his nickname Tua turned the ball over. He really lived that up to that nickname. In this one, he played awful. He made some awful reads, and I know it's easy just watching from the comfort of my living room, but there's the plays that he threw picks on. I could see receivers open for a check down right in front of him. He's throwing it into coverage. He looked awful. I honestly can't think of one positive for the Dolphins this game. They, like I said, they looked like they, without a doubt, were the worst team in the league week one. They looked like the worst team in the league week one. Are they going to be by the end of the year? I don't think so. But I mentioned in my videos, the Dolphins had bad vibes for me going into the season. Does Tyreek want to be there? He does, then he doesn't. They're trying to rebuild trust there. Their defense, their secondary got patched together. They're getting thoroughly outplayed in training camp. Just bad vibes to the Dolphins. And I thought it wouldn't translate at the start of the season, and again, it's only one game, so you don't want to overreact, but it looks like it is. And everyone's kind of on the same page where question the Dolphins going to be one of the worst teams in the league. Do they need to rebuild? Is Tua the guy? Mike McDaniel, he's on the hot seat. Greer, their GM's on the hot seat. I mean, Mike McDaniel got asked by a reporter, I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago. I think it was yesterday. What can you name a positive from the game? He said, well, I don't think it can get much worse. That's basically he said something of that nature. I'm probably paraphrasing, but I mean, I agree with him. I can't name one positive from this game. They looked like an absolute dumpster fire this game. And the Colts on the other end looked phenomenal. Daniel Jones looked like the greatest quarterback to ever play the game, for Christ's sake, in this game. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to lead a scoring drive on every drive in the game. It would have been Josh Allen, I think, against my Patriots in the 21 wildcard game, but at the end they did the kneel downs. So technically, Daniel Jones is the only quarterback to ever lead a scoring drive on every drive in the game. So I forget the exact stat, but it was something like that. So that's absolutely insane. The Dolphins I would love to be a fly on the wall in their locker room to hear the discussions after this game because Jesus, what an absolute disaster. But the Colts, oh Jesus Christ, it looked like the greatest show on turf. Now I don't think they're going to look like that every week, but they could be a sneaky team this season. Look out for them. Obviously, phenomenal win for the Colts, just a complete disaster for the Dolphins. Steelers Jets. This was a surprise. As far as just the pure result, I think pretty much everyone expected the Steelers to win. I don't think anyone expected a shootout. The Jets, no, I don't think anyone expected the Jets offense to look as good as it did. They looked phenomenal. Justin Fields looked great. The Steelers defense was awful for most of this game. Aaron Rodgers looked great in his debut. So if Aaron Rodgers and the offense can be this productive the whole season, look out because the Steelers defense is going to figure it out after this game. I think they'll be one of the better defenses in the league, like they always are. So look out if the Steelers offense is going to be this efficient all year. Uh, yeah, so both defenses obviously did not play too great in this one. But yeah, the big story is Justin Fields and the Jets, their offense looked great. Now, is that going to sustain the whole season? I don't think so. I think it's gonna look like we expected it to, as the season goes on. It's early. You can argue you don't know what you're preparing for. It's a new offense. So once teams get film on it, maybe they're gonna look like the offense we expected them to. But yeah, they look phenomenal. I had Fields on my bench in 2 leagues. I had Goff and Bo Nix starting over him. So I lost both those leagues, leaving Fields on my bench. Looked like an absolute idiot for doing that. But on paper, this did not look like the Jets' offense was going to have a very successful game. In my defense, then the Steelers, as I mentioned, their defense. Their defense got de-stopped at the end of the game. The Steelers are up 2. Fields hit Wilson on a 4th down. They would have been around midfield. They would have, I think, had to use their last one. I think there was like 18 seconds left in the game or something like that. But Jalen Ramsey laid out a hit on Garrett Wilson. He dropped the ball. Steelers just nailed it out there. Chris Boswell making the 60-yarder to eventually win the game. There was the game winner against the Jets. If he missed that, the Jets would have been able to just kneel the ball out, win the game. I think the Steelers only had one timeout left with like a minute and 20 left or something like that, minute and 10, something like that. So that was obviously clutched by it. As soon as he kicked it, I'm like, yep, that's good. Which I had the Steelers money line, so I'm surprised it didn't get blocked or anything like that with my betting luck. I always get such shit betting luck. Um, but yeah, Steelers offense looked great. I think their defense will figure it out. The Jets offense looked great. Their defense did get a couple stops. I mean, both of them did. They got to Rodgers a couple times with sacks. They got a decent amount of pressure. Justin Fields like 5 times this game looked like he was going to get sacked and somehow got out of it. It was like, he was the Bears. He kept eluding sacks somehow. Uh, yeah, again, I don't think the Jets offense is going to sustain, but if it does, I mean, somehow I look out for them. Their defense I don't think will play this bad every week. And again, the Steelers, I have very high comp. Again, I'm not a Steelers fan, but as a neutral fan, I guess, the Steelers are a rival of my Patriots. I have high confidence their defense will figure it out. This was just an off game for them. And I don't think their offense will be putting up 34 a week, but I think it could be one of the better units in the league. Like 20, I don't know, like 20, 21 points a game, 24, somewhere around there. So look out for the Steelers potentially. Essentially, if Rodgers can keep playing at that level. Jets, I think they'll be bad this year record wise, but could be a scrappy, competitive team. Uh, Panthers Jaguars. I think the score is a pretty good indication of this game. Yeah, the Jags just dominated this game. There was another weather delay in this game, but the Jags just dominated the whole game. Bryce Young looked absolutely abysmal. He looked terrible. The Panthers looked awful in general this game. They're off. I mean, they traded away Thielen, which I'm like, well, that's a big blow, but I don't think their offense is going to dramatically drop off without him. Well, it's just one game in again, but Jesus, questioning that. Maybe when Coker comes back, they'll look a bit better. But Bryce Young looked like he did the first half of last season. Their offense looked like it did the first half of last season. I mean, everyone was expecting the Panthers to be a much improved team. And again, it's just one game. They still very well could be. But if they play like this the whole season, yeah, this will be an abysmal year for them. I just can't believe how awful Bryce Young and the offense were in this game. On the flip end, Trevor Lawrence and the Jags offense looked really good, and the Jags defense was phenomenal this game. If I remember, I think the Jags were dead last in pass defense last season, and they looked like the friggin' 2000 Ravens, the 85 Bears this game against the Panthers. So, yeah, not a great game for the Panthers here. yeah, not too much to talk about in this game, I don't think, besides the Jags just completely dominated the game. They look good. They could be a sleeper team this year. Panthers, not a good start. Hopefully they can figure some things out. Excuse me, you're going to take a quick sip of water. Okay, there we go. Cardinals Saints. Oh, I was so close with my Saints upset pick. I know it made no logical sense, really, just a gut feeling. The Saints didn't look as bad as a lot of people were expecting. Again, just week one, so they'll probably look better this week than they look most of the season. Their defense played some solid ball. There was a couple of third downs they really needed to stop it. There was a 3rd and 10, and Kyler checked it down like a stick route to McBride for like 5 yards. He broke off 2 tackles to get. There was another 3rd and 12. Kyler got it, and then they scored a touchdown. So that was a killer for the Saints. The Saints missed a field goal late in the game, but so did or not late in the game. It was in the second half, I think. Then but at the end of the game they blocked the Cardinals kick, so it kind of evened out there. Rattler and the offense, they only put up 13 points. They looked a bit better than I think people were saying. They were up in the second quarter of this game. It was 7-3. Um, Second half, the Cardinals defense kind of took over. They really limited. It was 10-10 at one point. Then the Cardinals got the touchdown. It was 17-10 at half. Got a field goal, and they were up 20-10. The Saints, weren't doing too much offensively in the second half. They're down 10 with a few minutes left. They get a field goal at the with a few minutes left. Saints force a punt, and Rattler and company driving down the field. And Rattler hit. Excuse me, Jesus Christ, dying over here. Rattler hit, I believe it was Brandon Cooks with like 6 seconds left in the end zone, but Cooks couldn't hold on. Otherwise, it would have been 2019. And I think the Saints would have gone for two. And if they had, they would have won the game, presumably. There was like 6 seconds left, 21-20. And that was my exact score prediction for the game. So that would have been awesome if that had happened. Then on 4th down, Rattler just threw up a prayer. Didn't work out. Cardinals got the win. You would ideally like to see the Cardinals win more comfortably, but again, Saints, they'll be bad this year record-wise, or at least they should. But maybe they could be a sort of competitive team of Rattlers and god awful. Their defense looks decent on paper. If Rattler's an awful, instead of Cooks out there, you get Olave, you got Kamara, so you get a great offensive mind in Kellen Moore. On the road week one, tough to prepare for any team, especially, a team where it's just hard to prepare for, especially because everything's new. So, gutsy win by the Cardinals. Should have won the game, so, good for them for doing that. Saints stuck in there, though. Pretty entertaining game, I would say. Oh boy. Oh boy. Dylan's Giants had a rough outing. They looked like the Giants. Well, I was going to say the past couple of years, but they look like the Giants were used to, I guess. The Commanders on the Commanders defense played phenomenal this game. The Giants offense was a disaster. Russell Wilson looked awful. Already people calling for him to be benched. Their offensive line was an absolute disaster this game. The Commanders defense, I don't think is going to be great. I don't even think it's going to be. I think it'll be like decent, like mid this year. So the fact that they held the Giants to 6 point, and again, it's just the Giants. No offense, Dylan. You get an arguably washed Russell Wilson in there with the line playing disastrous. But to hold any team to 6 points is impressive. Jaden Daniels and company, I feel like they moved the ball better than the score indicates. They had a botch sequence at the end of the half where they were doing hurry up, trying to get a quick playoff, and Jaden Daniels threw it out of bounds. So it was an intentional grounding. There was a 10-second runoff. Otherwise, they would have gotten a field goal. It would have been 17-3. I believe it was 14-6 going into the fourth quarter. So it was a one-score game. Then D-ball on like a reverse. That's another guy that was on my bench in multiple leagues that completely screwed me over. I had Ridley and Smith starting over him, so that screwed me. I looked like an idiot for that move. I guess maybe not Smith, but Ridley. He didn't really do anything, neither the Titans' whole offense. But Debo scored to really basically not ice game. It was 2 scores, just the way the game was going. I think it was like 7 minutes left when that happened. You just felt that was it. Yeah, Commanders defense played great. Their offense, I feel like, moved the ball better than the score indicated. Debo looked pretty good. At least the Giants were hanging in there. I expected them to cover the +6 spread. I wouldn't have been surprised if they won the game. Dylan picked them to win the game, but I thought it was a good upset pick. But that did not happen. The Giants just looked awful, and their schedule is just an absolute gauntlet. So things aren't going to be getting much better for them. If they have any semblance of saving their season, they really need to somehow beat the Cowboys week 2. Because after that, they'll be piling up some losses with their opponents most likely. So yeah, Commanders look good. Well, I feel like this game, I never really had any doubt the Commanders were going to lose the game when the way it was going, even though the score indicates it was close for most of it. Good win for the Commanders. Played better than the score indicated. Giants just a disaster. Bucks Falcons. This was a really entertaining game. Baker looked off in this game. He looked rusty. Some Bucks fans are saying it's because he didn't play in the preseason since January, which that's I probably would agree with that. He looked rusty early. The Falcons, like 3 plays, they got the ball to start the game. Like 3 plays in, Bucks missed a bunch of tackles on Bijan. They immediately scored. I'm like, oh boy. Then the Bucks defense adjusted. They really clamped the Falcons down for a while after that. Baker started cooking some things up. Sorry, let me just respond to this text real quick. Give me 2 seconds here. Okay, sorry. Baker had a really nice pass to Bouquet, their Bucks rookie receiver, who looks like a stud. But the Bucks always have a good receiving core. They draft really well. Jason White, a really underrated GM. I have a Madden franchise. A couple of my buddies, shout out Nick, Nate, and Steve. We recently added him to the league. If you guys are watching this, he's been a stud for me in that league. And then he had the touchdown at the end of the game when the Falcons took the lead, and Baker and company had to drive down. Baker, as soon as they got to about midfield, I'm like, yep, the Bucs are going to win this game. Baker's going to get a touchdown here. And he fired an absolute laser in there to Bouquet for his second touchdown. Baker really clutch. But yeah, Baker was off in the first half, but the Bucs defense played really well. The Bucs defense played good most of this game. That goal line sequence, the Falcons, I do think, got a bit bailed out. They got a bit lucky. So first of all, it was a 4th and 1. Penix dove for it. They ruled it a fumble, and the Bucs recovered. That would have nearly been the game, pretty much. The Falcons, I believe, had all their timeouts, so not really, but the Bucs likely would have won the game from that. And then they ruled Penix had the first down. I believe, from what I remember, right, that was the correct ruling. Then it was a 4th and goal and incomplete, but there was a flag. Then they took them to 3rd and goal, and then I forget who got the touchdown. But then the Falcons got the touchdown. But they basically had like 11 plays in the end zone. So, and the 4th and goal call was a bit ticky-tacky from what I remember. So the Falcons maybe got a bit of a break there. But Penix at the end of the game was clutch. He didn't have who didn't he? One of his Drake London got hurt. Actually, no, I think Drake London got the hang on, I'm trying to think who got the I think it was Drake London. All right, now I gotta look this up. Let me see here. Drake London got the touchdown on 3rd and goal, I'm pretty sure. Let me see here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got it. He wasn't out there the last drive. Oh shit, did he get it? Who the hell caught it? He didn't get it. Okay, I don't know who the hell caught the touchdown then. But anyway, London wasn't out there the last drive. Penix brought him down the field. Todd Bowles is in way too much of a prevent defense. He had, I forget who up the seam, Penix, and Winfield broke it up to save the game. Otherwise, the Falcons would have won the game. And then Yunho Koo missed the kick to tie it, send it to overtime. So that sucks. He's been one of the more consistent kickers in the league. He was a bit off last year, missed some kicks. Although McLaughlin missed, I believe, an extra point and a field goal. So you can argue that evened out. Maybe not an extra point, but I know he at least missed a field goal. So you can argue that evened out. Uh, but yeah, Bucks defense looked good this game after that first drive. Baker looked rusty. He cleaned it up, played a lot better as the game went on. Super clutch at the end there. Penix looked really good. Falcons defense played good most of the game. Jeff Ulbrich, a really good defensive hire there. Falcons could be a sleeper team. We all expect the Bucks to, be like around a 10-win team. The Falcons could be a bit of a sleeper team. Really entertaining game in this one. Bengals Browns. This was an interesting game. It was actually the Bengals defense is what won them the game. Now the Browns should have won the game. They outplayed the Bengals and they lost the game. Still, I'm a Joe Burrow fan, so I kind of pull for the Bengals. I kind of do like the Browns too, though. I kind of pull for them, every week as long as it's neutral. It doesn't like negatively affect my team if they win the Patriots in any way. So I kind of pull for the Browns too. But in this one, I was pulling for the Bengals. I also had their money line. And, we all know the tough losses the Bengals had last year. You can argue they had some unlucky things happen. Well, they certainly had some luck happen in their favor in this game. Well, first of all, the Browns missed 4 points worth of kicks, including the field goal to tie it. Or actually, it was the field goal to take the lead late. And then, actually, with like just a few minutes left. And then earlier in the game, they got a touchdown and they missed the extra point to tie it. The Bengals offense did nothing in the second half. They actually had negative yardage in the second half from what I remember seeing because Myles Garrett on a series got 3 straight sacks on Joe Burrow. That was absolutely insane. Joe Flacco looked pretty good. He had, if you just look at his stats, they're not going to look too good because he had 2 picks. Both of them were not his fault. Both of them were he hit the receiver right in the hand and they bobbled it into the hands of the Bengals for 2 picks. Especially the second one, he was leading them down the field to win the game, and it was a really bad bobble that led to a pick for the Bengals. But yeah, the Bengals offense didn't look too great in this game, especially the second half. I mean, their first drive, they went right down the field and scored, so they had a good script to open the game. But it's good to see the Bengals defense, stepping up from last season to win the game. Obviously, it's against not one of the, at least what's expected to be one of the better offenses in the league this year. But again, Joe Flacco looked pretty solid. The Browns, like most people, I don't expect them to be very good. I expect them to be competing for the top pick. But their defense is, I mean, they played great this game. Their defense is going to keep them in some games this season, I think. And their offense isn't, awful as long as, Joe Flacco can stay healthy and, be at least mediocre. So they could be a bit of a sleeper team. They'll be like a team with a bad record, but be sort of competitive this season, I think. Bengals, I think their offense will clean it up. I don't have too much concern there. And their defense, Al Golden, I think is an underrated hire. Anarumo, their former defensive coordinator, looked phenomenal in Indy against the Dolphins this season. This game, this week 1. But Al Golden's a good hire for the Bengals, I think. I think the Bengals defense, I don't think it'll be one of the better units, but I think it'll be like mid this season, which is a big upgrade from last season. And as long as they're mid, I think the Bengals have one of the top tier offenses. It is a bit, I don't want to say it's necessarily concerning that they started off slow again because it's a division rival with the Browns. And yes, as I was just saying, the Browns are expected to be bad record wise this season, but I think the Bengals always have close games at Cleveland, have some issues at Cleveland, I feel like. So not too concerned. But if it happens against the Jags this week, they start off slow. They look like they did this game. I might be a bit concerned. But yeah, I'm trying to think of any more takeaways. Well, I actually want to see. I saw some insane stat from this game, like the total yardage in this game. The Bengals were extremely lucky to win this game. Let's see here. So yeah, the if you just look at the stats in this game, you're gonna think the Browns blew the Bengals out. The Bengals only had 141 yards. The Browns had 327 total yards. The Bengals didn't even have 3 yards play. They had 2.9 yards per play. The Browns had 4.6. The Browns had more than double, or no, they had double the Bengals first downs. They had 22 to the Bengals 11. Uh, let's see. The Bengals had 6 punts. The Browns even won the time possession battle by 11 minutes, basically 11 plus minutes actually. Just the turnovers killed the Browns. The 4 points they missed out on because of the kicks. Just an unlucky loss to the Browns, but Browns fans are probably used to it at that point. Good to see the Bengals get a lucky win for once. All right, yep, gonna take a sip of water for this game. All right, so I won't go too in depth into this game because I actually uploaded a video dedicated to just this game. It was like a half hour about my thoughts on this game. But basically, my key takeaway is obviously kind of a tale of two halves. He played good in the first half outside of the first two drives the Raiders had. We looked awful, and then outside our first offense drive, we played phenomenal in the first half. I would say the passing game was really good. May was throwing some nice passes. Our pass rush was getting to Geno Smith. Then the second half, we just came out lethargic. After that pick, it was just a complete disaster from there on out. Our offense was out of sync. May missed a couple throws, just nothing going. The line looked. I didn't mention this in my video, but I meant to say, well, obviously the offensive line is a big question for us heading into this year. I thought they were okay in the first half, and then the second half, it looked like May was under a lot of pressure. I mean, the pick, he got hit on the throw, so it was inaccurate from that. So maybe you can say the line really was a big part of that interception there from May that changed the momentum of the game. The line's going to be a project for us all year. We'll be messing around with that. It'll look good one drive, look bad the next drive, look one game good one game, bad the next game. I'm sure that'll be a project for us. We'll be messing around with the whole year, I think. Um, yeah. Another key takeaway is penalties. We had a lot of penalties. My big key takeaway is I'm not too concerned with this loss because a lot of the things that led to the loss, I think we can clean up. Miscues, May overthrowing people, the false starts at penalties, some play calling. I'd like to be better, trying to get the run game, establish it more, committing to it more, maybe some more deep shots, things like that. We can clean up. And the Raiders, I think will be like mid this year. I think talent wise, we're similar to them, and they simply just outplayed us. I thought this scenario might happen where I felt confident we were going to win the game, but I felt that the scenario that happened was very realistic where we're just out of sync. We just don't look too great. The Raiders are kind of in control. They win the game. And then after the game, the Patriots really going to be, take that big leap everyone's expecting? Are they, going to be like they were last season? A lot of people saying, well, hopefully we can just get 5 wins, 6 wins after this game. They look like they did last season. I'm still optimistic. I think we can hopefully sneak into the playoffs. That would be nice. Yeah, we're just gonna, as I mentioned, I talked about it in my video I made about this game alone. But a lot of things are new for us. It's going to take some time to, kind of ease into it, get some things clicking, for the team to fully gel together. We'll look great, like in this game, for example, we look great in spurts, like in the first half, then it didn't pan out in the second half. We'll look great one game, maybe not so great the next game, have a big win, have an unconvincing win. We don't look too great, but win, probably have a bad loss, a close loss. I'm sure we're going to have that type of season. And this was one of them where it was evident we were just out of sync. Just second half, we were flat. I guess positive though is our defensive line looked phenomenal for most of this game. Our secondary was bad most of this game. Hopefully we can get Gonzo back. That'll help, even though I like Alex Austin. And obviously I like Carlton Davis too. Geno Smith looked really good in this game. Gentry didn't do too much. That touchdown run was impressive, though. They'll probably be the Raiders in their run game. It's probably another experiment. They'll be messing around with the whole season. Raiders defense played a good game. Patrick Graham, really underrated defensive coordinator. Raiders can be sneaky this year. I don't think they'll be one of the better teams record wise, but they could be sneaky this year. What else? What else? What else? Trying to think here. Yeah, I'm not too down after this game. Except if we lose to the Dolphins, I am gonna be a bit concerned, but hopefully that doesn't happen. Yeah, not too concerned as a Patriots fan. Uh, yeah, a lot to clean up, but I think we can clean it up. Look out for the Raiders potentially, but hopefully we can clean some things up on the Patriots end. Niners Seahawks. This had the so the 49ers we've seen, the past couple years, we've seen them hand games away. They really should win themselves. The Rams game last year, at least the first one, is a good example. They really outplayed the Rams. They handed them that game with self-inflicted wounds. They had a bunch of drops, like 6 drops in that game and I remember Ronnie Bell had a really bad drop. In this game, that had the typical 49ers going to hand the game away written all over it. The 49ers opening drive, they went 95 yards down the field and scored a touchdown. It's like, here we go. The 49ers are back in business. And then after that, their offense, I mean, Jennings got hurt in the middle of the game. Kittle got hurt. He's out multiple weeks. At least McCaffrey could stayed healthy. That's a good thing. The Seattle defense played phenomenal in this game. Moody missed a field goal. Then another field goal got blocked. They cut Moody. They signed Eddie Pinheiro. That needed to be done. I kind of feel bad for Jake Moody. He seems like a really nice guy, but he was not good for the 49ers. I mean, you can even argue the Super Bowl he was good in, except he missed a crucial extra point. He did make that field goal to give them the 3-point lead. Right. I think it was right before the 2-minute warning. It was a long field goal too, and he drilled it. But if he had made that extra point, the Chiefs would have had to go for a touchdown at the end there. Maybe they get it, maybe they don't. Who knows? But yeah, trying to think. Yeah, at the end of the game, the Niners were down 10-13, and Purdy led a clutch drive. Tonjes, their backup or third string tight end, he caught like 3 passes on that drive. He caught a ridiculous touch, and it looked like the pass was going to get picked off. Purdy just floated up, and he caught it. And I'm like, oh, yes, the Niners going to win. Because the Niners defense played phenomenal. Robert Saleh, phenomenal offseason hire, going back to the 49ers. The 49ers defense can be one of the better units in the league this year. They look great this game. I'm like, yep, the Niners have it, I think, because they're going to force the Seahawks to pass, which they haven't all game for the most part. And JSN immediately gets a big play. The Seahawks are in business. And I'm like, yep, here we go. And then I think the Niners got a roughing the passer or something like that. And the Seahawks were like the 9-yard line. But then they got a strip sack to get and they recovered and they won the game. So, gutty win for the 49ers, a defensive game, as most of us expected. 2 really good defenses. Purdy, very up and down game. He had 2 bad interceptions that gave the Seahawks momentum. The Niners defense really kept them in the game after those mistakes from Purdy. Seahawks defense played really good, as I mentioned. Their offense, I think this is going to be how the Seahawks operate mostly. Their defense plays phenomenal, keeps them in games, but their offense is going to be, I'm sure they'll have some good weeks. I think their offense is going to be not one of the better units. I mean, like right after the interception, I think they ran it like 6 straight times, and the Niners stopped them, held them to a field goal or forced a punt, something like that. But Clint Kubiak he really does not like to pass the ball at times, it feels like. By the way, I have Kenneth Walker on one of my teams. He completely fucked me over. I mean, Zach Charbonnet had a higher count than he did. Especially the Seahawks got a touchdown, and when they got their lone touchdown this game, they had Charbonnet in there for every goal line carry. I'm like, fuck you as a Kenneth Walker fantasy owner. Um, so that's something to monitor. Again, just one game, so I don't want to look too much into it. But yeah, Clint Kubiak likes to run the ball a bit too much. Darnold, I thought he played fine in this game, but he really didn't pass much. They, like I keep saying to you, they just ran the shit out of the ball. You would like to see more passing. I think already getting some more You're already getting some criticism among Seattle fans. I see. Again, just one game. No of games where they Darnold looks good. They have a good passing game. They put up a good amount of points. But I think the offense is going to be the weaker of the two units. Seahawks defense, I think, will be one of the better units. Very high on their defense and Mike McDonald. Um, but yeah, gutsy, grinded out win for the 49ers. Tough loss to the Seahawks in this one. Titans Broncos. This was an interesting game. Both defenses played great. The Denver defense, that was, I don't know if I'm exaggerating, but that was one of the best defensive performances I have seen in recent memory. They had actually, I gotta see if this stat is if it's accurate. I think the Titans had like just one or two more first downs this game, and the Broncos got sacks on Cam Ward. Let's see. Titans Broncos. Let's see. Yeah, so the Titans had 7 first downs in this game. The Broncos had 6 sacks. I mean, the Titans defense played a really good game. They were doing everything in their power to keep the Titans in the game, and their offense did absolutely nothing. The Broncos defense really only allowed 6 points in this game because 6 of them just came from default field positioning. Nix threw a pick that led to a field goal, and then right at the end of the half, the Titans got a good kick return that led to a field goal. So the Broncos defense really only allowed 6 points, like when it didn't come to default field positioning. The First of all, I think Brian Callahan is not a good head coach. I think the play calling was absolutely abysmal this game for the Titans offensively. Cam Ward, if you just look at his stats, he didn't play great. I actually thought Cam Ward played decent this game. His receivers dropped the shit out of the ball. I felt bad, honestly. Right at the end of the game, the Denver made a questionable call. They went for it on 4th and 8, didn't get it. Titans with like 50 seconds left for around midfield. They're like the 40-yard line. They can, maybe lead a touchdown, tie the game up with the 2-point conversion. And like back-to-back drops for the Titans. I felt bad for Cam Ward. So many drops. They showed his dad in the stands. He's like leaning on the guardrail, like, Jesus Christ, can this team catch a fucking pass? You might get out of here. That's relatable, I'm sure. But yeah, the Titans defense got a bunch of stuff. Bo Nix was bad in this game. He made a lot of questionable decisions, turned it over a few times. I mean, the Broncos offense was keeping the Titans in this game, so they kept making boneheaded choices. Titans defense played great, but the Broncos defense played even better. Not a pretty win for the Broncos, but I think their offense will clean it up. Bo Nix will be fine. If Denver's defense can play like this the whole season, they looked like the 2015 Broncos. Now, I don't think they'll play as good at this level every week, but I certainly think Denver's going to have one of the better defenses in the league. So look out for them. Look out for them. Titans, I think, will be bad this year. Their defense, sort of like last season, is probably going to keep them in some games. I think there'll be some weeks their offense looks really good, but I think for the most part, it's going to be a rough season for them. Brian Callahan, I will be beyond shocked if he is not fired after this season. Just what an awful game, from a play calling perspective. I can't believe just how bad their offense was, the play calling. But, grinded out win for Denver. Their defense stepped up. There was a sequence where Nix threw an interception. The Titans were in Broncos territory. They just need a field goal to take the lead, and Denver's defense sacked Cam Ward on back-to-back plays to get them out of field goal range. They sacked Cam Ward. He was by the 50-yard line. So that was just Denver's defense really won them this one. Grinded out win. Good for the Broncos. Titans offense. Oh boy. Lions Packers. So, yep, like a lot of people, I expected the Lions to have some growing pains, especially early on in the year. missing both their coordinators, more so Ben Johnson, and that was certainly evident this game. Their offense looked terrible. They really struggled offensively. Goff did not play too good in this one. Their lone touchdown was at the end of the game. It was actually a ridiculous catch from their rookie receiver. That was an absolutely insane catch he made in the end zone there. The Lions defense, it looked, I mean, the Packers looked like they were going to absolutely blow the doors off the Lions early in the game. They were up 17-3. But then from that point on, the Lions defense, sort of kept them in the game, made it a close game throughout. And then the Packers kind of pulled away at the end there. Packers defense looked absolutely phenomenal. Micah Parsons played good. He had played like 80% of the snaps or something like that in this game, and that's probably just going to go up from there. Yeah, Lions. I think the Lions will be fine as the season progresses. I mean, they play the Bears this week. The Lions are at home in that game. It's a must-win for both of those teams, especially the Lions. You can say more because their expectations are higher than the Bears, and they're at home. I think the Lions probably would. I mean, I can't imagine their offense plays that bad again. But yeah, I think they'll be a work in progress and they'll figure things out as the year goes on. Packers are humming though. The Packers, I think. Now I see. I had the Lions winning the division even after the Parsons trade, which I wasn't too confident with, and I don't want to overreact, but boy, this game really makes me rethink that pick in my mind. The Packers look phenomenal this game. I can't really think of anything they did bad, any negatives to the game from their perspective. There's a little things that you can argue that touchdown. Of course, there's a little things there, but overall, it's just a phenomenal game by the Packers. They look great. The Lions just did not look great. Rough outing for them. Brian Branch there was a flag thrown, so it didn't count, but he had a nice pick six. That was insane. I don't know how he made that back to the end zone. He didn't get brought down, but that would have made it a couple. I forget the exact score. It would have been a one-score game if that had counted. And I think that was in like the third quarter. But yeah, Lions, I think we'll figure it out as the year goes on. Packers look phenomenal though. Great win for them. Texans, Rams. Actually, this is an error on my part. Final score was 14-9. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that was okay. I'm almost positive that was the final score, but I'm going to double check here. Let's see. Yeah, okay, 14-9. Yeah, I mean the Texans defense played really well in this game, but their offense was bad. 3 field goals. They couldn't even get a touchdown. Now the Rams defense I think will be really good this year, but the Texans offense was what let them down last season. Their defense is really good. And again, just one game in, but hopefully it's not the same this season. I mean, I know that they're not going to only score 9 points every week, but they did not look too good in this game. Rams defense really contained them, and it was just not a great outing for the Texans offense. I mean, that being said, they actually put together a decent drive at the end of the game. They did get bailed out on a roughing the passer call, though. It would have been like 4th and 14. I think the Rams would have stopped them to basically win the game. And they got a bit of a lucky call, you can say. But yeah, Stroud hit, I forget who, but they were down like the 20-yard line. They had the momentum rolling. They just had a first down. They were moving down the field, had the momentum, getting that fumble defensively to keep them in the game. And then the Texans fumbled. And the Rams got a first down after that to ice the game. So they won. The Rams offense obviously didn't do too much. They only had 2 touchdowns, but they certainly played better than the Texans offense. The Rams will be scoring more than 14 most weeks, you would think. Their defense, as I mentioned, played really well. The Stafford and company, I thought they moved the ball maybe a bit better than the score indicated. The first half they were struggling. They got a touchdown at the end of it. Then the Texans came right back, got a field goal to lead at the half. Then Stafford absolutely lasered a nice pass to Allen, the backup tight end there. it was like the same play. Well, I went to the game again when we played the Rams last season. It was like the same play that they, at least the same route and like the same result. The corner of the end zone there, the play action boot, Stafford slaying it to the end zone. That was a nice pass by him. Um, just absolute laser Stafford through. Just a very impressive pass. Um, but yeah, once I mean the Rams were in a position to win the game, and then the Texans got a fumble, or at least the Rams were in position to get a field goal to go up 8. I really would have felt good there at that point. I had the Rams money line in a parlay. I won a nice $50 in the 4 afternoon games. I got all 4 of those right, so that was nice. This game and mainly the Niners game, I had about 15 heart attacks. The Niners game, I was having a heart attack throughout this game. I was like, all right, I'm pretty confident the Rams are gonna win. Then as soon as the Niners win, I'm like, oh my god, thank you Niners. And then I look in and see a fumble. I'm like, are the fucking Texans seriously gonna ruin my parlay after really the Rams are dominating the game? But yeah, good win by the Rams in this one. Their defense will be one of the better units, same with the Texans. But I think both offenses will be better most games. But I have more faith in the Rams offense than I do the Texans this season. Good win for the Rams. Take a sip of water here. Okay, 2 more games. Sunday Night Football game. People are already saying this is the game of the year. This was an absolutely insane game. I mean, the Ravens with another choke job, in a historical choke job in this one. They're up 15 points with 4 minutes and change left, and they lost the game. Like that cannot happen. That cannot happen. John Harbaugh has blown so many double-digit leads. I mean, a lot of Ravens fans shitting on him for blowing a bunch of the leads. The Ravens outplayed the Bills in this game. They really should have won. This was a game they should have won. And this game, there's a very good chance it comes down to seeding, and this is going to be the tiebreaker between these teams, and they have the same record, and the Bills are going to have it because they won the game. So this game could really come back to haunt the Ravens as far as seeding late in the year. But yeah, Derrick Henry had a ridiculous game. He could not be stopped. He had over 100. He had like 160 plus rush yards, a couple touchdowns. The fumble though absolutely killed the Ravens. The Bills down 8 got the fumble score. They didn't get the 2-pointer, but obviously they got the field goal at the end to win the game. But Henry played phenomenal this game. The Ravens offense looked great this game. Their defense looked good for parts of this game, but when the Bills need to start passing, they're down multiple scores. The Ravens could not stop them either. The Bills defense looked awful in this game up until the end there when they started to get that momentum wave. But yeah, the Bills, that insane comeback. So yeah, they're down 15, and then they go for it on 4th down. They get a bit lucky with the tip pass that got caught off the deflection. They get the extra points. They're down 8. The Henry fumble, as I mentioned, they get the touchdown, not the 2-pointer. But the Bills have all 3 of their timeouts, and the Ravens couldn't get it, so they punted. And as soon as they punched, I'm like, well, that's game. The Bills just won. And then what do you know? The Bills worked the ball down to chip shot field goal range, and the Ravens, I think it was Marlon Humphrey, was literally inches away from blocking the kick. I'm like, first of all, I wanted the Ravens to win because I had their money line. I would have won another $20. And because, I know my team, the Patriots, most likely isn't going to win the division. But if the Bills had lost, every AFC East team would have been 0-1. So we would have been, as bad as it was for my team week 1, we would have been in the same boat record-wise as the rest of the division, especially the Bills, who obviously are expected to win the AFC East. But yeah, just a ridiculous comeback by the Bills there. Josh Allen went absolutely insane this game. And, another game where Sean McDermott, a defensive-minded coach, going up against an elite team and an elite coach, gets out coached and he gets bailed out by Allen. We see that every time he goes against the Chiefs in the playoffs, he gets thoroughly out coached by Andy Reid. Even the 21 game they should have had. Had they won that would have been Josh Allen winning the game by himself there. And Sean McDermott blew it with the 13 seconds there. Um, I just feel like he gets bailed out by Josh Allen a lot. I made a comment on that on social media, and someone said he's like Zach Taylor with better PR press. I'm like, that's a good analogy. I think Zach Taylor is actually a really good offensive minded coach, but not a great head coach. Um, what else in this game? Yeah, this game was just absolutely crazy. The Ravens were, I mean, the Bills they scored off the opening drive. They're up 7-0. Then the Ravens scored 10 straight. And I mean, the Ravens after that point were in full control of the game. They're up multiple scores most of the game, two scores most of the game. The Bills keep fighting back. The Ravens keep making it a two-score game. But then, yeah, just that choke job at the end there, just an absolute insane game. A lot of people saying the Ravens should have gone for it. I would have gone for it, but I understand punting the ball there. If you don't get it, it's borderline the game. They're basically in field goal range. Well, they probably would have needed another first down, but the way their offense is playing, you assume they're going to get it. Ravens would have had to use their timeouts, play the timeout game. But so you punt the ball, make them go the distance. But I mean, at that point, your defense was awful. They could not stop a parked car. Josh Allen had all the momentum, and it was 4th and 4, I want to say. I mean, you got to just trust Lamar and company to get 4 yards. That would have won the game. I would rather risk that and then, maybe forcing the Bills into a long field goal attempt, or if you stop them, you could somehow get the ball back. Assuming they make the long field goal, you'll even have some time left. I'd rather I'd rather risk going for it, not getting it, than punting there, and basically leaving it to my defense, who's played awful up to that point, to stop Josh Allen with full momentum. And obviously, it's easy in hindsight to second guess because it didn't work out for the Ravens. But I don't know, questionable call there. I mean, I remember in 21 season, the Ravens went forward on 4th down to ice the game against the Chiefs. They got it on a Lamar keeper. Had they not gotten that, the Chiefs would have been in field goal range to basically win the game. I think the Ravens had actually, I don't think they had their timeouts at that point. So, it would have been a field goal to basically win the game, for what I remember, and they went for it. Obviously, a different game, different opponent, different situation, different roster. That was a couple years ago, but still, essentially John Harbaugh is usually a pretty aggressive coach, so I'm surprised they didn't go for it, honestly. Also, the play call, I understand running on the first down, but the second down they handed off to Zay Flowers, on a not a pop pass, that like a I don't know how to describe it. It was not a pop pass. It was like just a handoff horizontally at like a sweep, basically. Not like, a jet sweep, but it was like a pop pass, but it was a sweep. He didn't, pass it. He just handed it off. Lamar didn't get any yards there. And then third down they passed. I was fine with that. But first down, you gotta. I would have ran a bootleg, honestly. The Chargers were in a similar situation against the Chiefs. It's first down. The Chiefs had all three timeouts. So did the Bills. And, everyone's expecting them to run it. And the Chargers ran a bootleg to Will Dissly, and they got it for a first down. That helped them win the game. The Ravens should have did the same thing. Everyone's expecting them to hand it to Derrick Henry. They should have ran a bootleg, especially because you get Lamar on the run, too. I would have probably ran a Lamar keeper on second down, by the way. At least let Lamar have the option to run it himself. So maybe some questionable play calling there from Todd Monken, who called a really good game for the most part, I think. Once Tyler Loop missed the extra point, I'm like, well, that would have set it to 16. The Bills are struggling to get 2-point conversions. They would have needed 2 touchdowns and 2-point conversions. I don't know, man. I don't know. That once Luke missed the extra point, I'm like, oh boy. Not hopefully that's not a momentum for the Bills. And still the Ravens obviously should have won it after that. But yeah, just an inexcusable loss to the Ravens. Outplayed the Bills, still lost. Choke job. For the Bills, insane come from behind win. Their defense, I think it'll, like it always is in the regular season, be one of the better units. Then playoffs against the elite teams, it'll be a different story, I think. But and we know Josh Allen in the offense will be one of the best in the league this year. But great win for the Bills to come from behind, just absolutely unacceptable for the Ravens. Okay, take a sip of water. Okay, Vikings Bears, the Monday night game. Yeah, this was a crazy one. So the Bears were in complete control for most of this game. Their defense looked phenomenal. JJ McCarthy looked terrible. Uh, Everyone was labeling him a bust on social media. I mean, even Kevin O'Connell looked like he was not trusting him too much. There was a sequence at the end of the half. There was like, I want to say like 11 seconds left, and they were in long field goal range. They had no timeouts, and you usually run a play or two, try to get at least a few yards closer for your kicker. Kevin O'Connell just went with the kick immediately, so that maybe shows some lack of faith in JJ McCarthy, who was not playing very well up to that point. They got the field goal at least for the Vikings, so that was good. But yeah, the Bears, their first try, they went right down the field and scored a touchdown. That was very impressive. And then just the whole game after that, the Vikings were not playing well, and it felt like the Bears were in complete control, but it was like a 13-point game for most of it. It's like, well, if the Vikings get a touchdown, they're just going to get all the momentum in the game. The Vikings defense played a solid game in this one. A bunch of mistakes from Caleb Williams in this game, some adjustments. Even when Caleb Williams, they did a good job in the broadcast highlighting this. Troy Aikman did. Even like the passes Caleb Williams was hitting, there was guys like open, down the field for a bigger gain, or it would have been a tighter throw, but Caleb Williams took the safe option. Multiple examples of that in this game that hurt them. I heard a good take earlier from one of the guys I watched on YouTube, the Goat House. He was talking about how Caleb Williams seems to improvise like every play way too much, and that was actually a really good take that I agree with. I mean, there'll be a guy open and Caleb Williams looks to scramble, too much. He looks to improvise too much, and it hurts the Bears sometimes. I mean, sometimes it works out for them. He had a couple scrambles in this game where it looked like for sure he was going to go down, like Justin Fields did against the Steelers, and he somehow got out of it for a gain, or just at least avoided a negative play. But yeah, the Bears offense, it was moving pretty well for the first half for the most part. The second half it stalled out a bit, but the Bears, once they got that pick six, I'm like, yeah, the Bears are gonna win this game. But then after that, their offense stalled out. It was just a 13-point game. The Vikings just hanging around there, and I'm like, oh boy. And then once the Vikings, I don't know, once the fourth quarter, well, once the Bears had a good drive that got killed by penalties, and then the missed lawn field goal. I'm like, oh boy, the Vikings are going to get momentum now, aren't they? And yet, the fourth quarter, you just see their body language. They just had more confidence. They got a touchdown, and I'm like, yep, here come the Vikings. They didn't get the 2-pointer though, so that hurt them. Um, trying to remember here exactly what happened. And then the Bears, again, they had to get the Vikings the ball. Aaron Jones got a touchdown. They got a 2-point conversion. And then J.J. McCarthy ran a touchdown in. So they were up 10 at this point, and they were in complete control of the game. They scored 21 unanswered in the fourth quarter. And then there's like 2 and change left, and Caleb Williams hit Cole Kmet with an absolutely ridiculous catch. And then he missed DJ Moore for an open touchdown. That would have helped them. And they got the touchdown with, I believe there was 2:02 left on the clock, and they had a timeout left in their pockets. Now, this brings up an interesting coaching point, because obviously you you want the Vikings to run a play before the 2-minute warnings. You get a free timeout with the 2-minute warning. It's crucial when you only have one timeout left. Even if you have all three, you will obviously want the 2-minute warning to force the team to run a play, get a free timeout there. The Bears, they kicked it out of the back of not kicked it out of the back of the end zone. They kicked it in the end zone, and the Vikings returned it, and they took 2 seconds off the clock. So the Bears lost a crucial timeout. So they got the ball back, but they had to try the pitches. That didn't work. I mean, the Bears should have either kicked it out of the back of the end zone and just allowed the Vikings to start at the 35, or if they didn't think Santos had the leg to get it there, they should just had him kick it out of bounds, because if you kick it out of bounds, the team starts at the 40, and yes, that's an extra 5 yards they get, but who cares in that situation? The timeout is much more valuable than the 5 yards. Let's say they kick out of bounds, Vikings start at the 40. They just probably do a run the first play, 2-minute warning. Second play, Kevin O'Connell probably would have honestly ran like a bootleg pass. He did that in a similar situation against the Packers last year. But, let's say he does, the Vikings get down in bounds, Bears burn their last timeout. Then let's say the Vikings run it, Bears use, or actually they're out of timeouts, but they probably would have gotten the ball back with around, let's say, after the bootleg, let's say that takes, uh, we'll say like 5 seconds, Bears use a timeout. Then the other play takes 5 seconds. So the Bears would get the ball back around a minute 5 left on the clock with, down 3, a chance to tie it had they had kicked it out of bounds or the back of the end zone. And that's assuming the Vikings didn't get a first down there on that series. So, that's a talking point from this game. Bears fans are like, yep, our season's over already. That's a bit ridiculous to me. Now, Caleb Williams, as I mentioned, he had some good and some bad in this game. He missed a lot of throws, a lot of blown opportunities for Caleb Williams in this game. Ben Johnson, I'm sure, will correct that in the film room. I'm sure the offense will get better and better as the year goes on. A lot of adjustments there we saw from this game. Again, the Bears defense looked phenomenal at the start of this game and for most of it. And they're missing some guys. They're missing their top 2 corners. Jalen Johnson's out, for example, and they still look phenomenal. And then obviously the fourth quarter came. They had a rough outing to say the least. But I think the Bears defense could be sneaky this year. I don't think it'll play like it did the first 3 quarters for, maybe every game this season. I do think it could be one of the better defenses this season. So if the offense can figure it out, look out. Not much of a run game either. The Bears going to work on that a bit. But yeah, J.J. McCarthy, the fourth quarter, he was slinging it, a lot of confidence after looking like an absolute, abomination the first 3 quarters. He hung in there, credit to him on the road in Chicago Monday night after an abomination of a game up to that point. So credit to him for that. Yeah, good come from behind win by the Vikings. Brian Flores, his defense, that has to be such a pain in the ass to prepare for. I mean, there was so many times where he looks like he's sending a blitz and he drops a couple linebackers back into coverage or vice versa, screws with Caleb Williams and the rest of the quarterbacks he plays this season. Going to be such a pain in the ass to play his defense. What else from this game? Yeah, just a lot of missed opportunities. The Bears really dominated the game for most of it. Were in control. They definitely let this one get away. This will be one that stains if they're fighting for playoffs at the end of the year. They don't make it. This will be a game they probably look back on. Yeah, tough loss to the Bears, but I think their offense will get better. Caleb Williams will be better as the year goes on. Look out for their defense, as I mentioned. Vikings, good come from behind win for them. Okay, so yeah, that is all the games here. So yeah, good week 1. Most of the games were close. Really not too many blowouts besides Dolphins, Colts, Panthers, Jags, Giants, Commanders. Then besides that, all the Lions, Packers too. Besides that, all the games were close. And again, we might have the game of the year already with Ravens, Bills. That was an absolutely insane game. So pretty good week 1. Fantasy wise, I did awful. Went 1-4 across my 5 leagues. Made a bunch of boneheaded start bench decisions. Well, actually, it was really only one. I had Fields benched in favor of Nix and Goff in 2 leagues, and then I had Debo on my bench in 2 leagues, and the guy benched 4 in 1 was Calvin Ridley. You did nothing. Logically, I'm not too upset because Debo is a bit of a risk, but I'm okay with starting Ridley over him. Before the game. Now after, I obviously am like, what am I doing? And leaving Fields on my bench, I did not expect the Jets to explode for 32, so I'm okay with that, even though I'm beating myself up for it. They expect Goff and Nix to perform that poorly, but anyway, yeah, I went 1-4 my 5 fantasy leagues, so rough outing there. Picks, I only went 10-6, so not my best showing there. Usually do a bit better. Yeah, good week 1, I would say. I profited betting wise, so that's good at least on both my apps I use. So that was good at least. Anyway, I will wrap the video up here. Hopefully, I have work in 6 hours now that I'm looking at the clock. It's 12:13, so that's awesome. But anyway, I'm going to end the video here. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed. Hopefully, you had a good week one. You did good betting, your picks, fantasy wise, all that good stuff. Hopefully, you enjoyed. Thank you guys for tuning in. Take it easy, guys.